Welcome to Multivac Tech. Today I'm going to show you how to create a website. This will be part of an ongoing series because it can be a pretty complicated process depending on what kind of features you want the website to have. But we're going to start off with the most basic version. And so first I'm just going to give a really quick rundown of what a website really is. And a website is just HTML, which is Hypertext Markup Language. You might be familiar with the phrase hypertext if you've ever heard of what the acronym HTTP stands for. You've probably seen HTTP, at the beginning of web addresses. So, for instance, if I show you my Facebook here, there's either HTTP at the beginning or HTTPS, which is HTTP secure. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and that's the way the web browser sends information. It's essentially the protocol in which it sends hypertext. So hypertext will come to you from a server, and then the browser will interpret that hypertext and render it client-side, which is to say it'll render it on your computer. So the cool effects are actually made by the browser, and really the whole website is just text. That's the thesis of what I'm really trying to tell you here. So I'll show you the most basic version of a website. Now, this requires, at least in Windows, for you to have known file extensions on so you can rename a file. So I've made a video on that already, and you can access that here. I'll put that up on the screen. So otherwise, let's just make what a website looks like really quick. Since a website is really just a text document, we'll create a text document. And we can name this anything we want. We can call it website. And it can be .html or .txt. Now, if you name it .html, what you might find is that it now wants to open with a web browser. But you can actually open it with a couple other things sometimes. But it might just be easier to call this website.txt for now. So we make sure that it opens with something that opens text. So as long as you're working with something that is dealing with text, even if it's, for instance, Word, something with rich text formatting, you'll be able to save the HTML in here. So HTML looks like this. This is your basic example of HTML. Okay, so 99% of websites you see will have these two tags. It's basically the beginning saying it's an HTML page and the ending saying it's the HTML page. Generally, the websites will have a lot of other tags, and I'll go through them. But this is kind of the most basic concept of a website. Even with this, there's supposed to be a couple more tags in there generally, but it's not really a big deal. So here we have an HTML page. And what this denotes, so this opening tag won't have a slash, and this is the closing tag, which will have a slash. And everything in between is whatever you have in these tags, okay? So, for instance, let's just make some text, and everything in between is HTML. That's what we're saying. So if you were to rename this HTML, what you have, really quick, we have is it just says text. Okay, to give you a better example of how HTML works, let's put an effect on the text. Let's say H1. H1 means heading 1. Okay. And this is a relatively common tag. You usually see these on a lot of websites. So what you'll notice is when I saved it, it actually saved a website.txt. So this is kind of like an old version. We can get rid of that. And then this is H1. So what you'll see now is we open that up. Now text is big and bold because it's in the heading 1 style. So what I'm going to do now is just for saving time is I'm going to open this with some kind of text editor. I like to use Visual Studio Code. This is something I like because it does syntax highlighting. So you see it actually highlights the HTML tags for you. And so we have this H1. So something else you could do, for instance, let's say you could do, color. Okay, so font color, maybe green will work that way. Okay, so now the text is green. You see that. So that works with all your basic colors. You can make it red, for instance. See this text. It's not green clearly, but you can change the color of it. So that's how this works. The font color. This font is an HTML, what they call a tag. Just like H1 is a tag and closing H1 is a tag. Everything between this is the H1. So if you look at the actual image, or if you look at the actual website rather itself, you'll see that this is big and bold. But this you know, this text is only affected by this tag and this opening tag and this closing tag. This is what's called an attribute. The color equals red. And that's kind of how you add a little more formatting to the tags. But there's another counterpart that goes into formatting, which is kind of a new addition, or a newer addition to the language of HTML, called CSS. And that's kind of a more attributes to your markup. It allows you to do a few more interesting things, and I'll go through that too. So that's kind of the most basic way to make a website. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or comments, feel free to leave them on the channel and let me know. Thanks for watching.